We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
Texting and driving. Texting and driving.
Texting and driving.
Call it. I'm calling. Don't. I feel like we're gonna get called in for. In 2010, 3,092 people were killed in crashes involving a distracted driver, and an estimated additional 416,000 were injured in motor vehicle crashes involving a distracted driver. 18% of injury crashes in 2010 were reported as distraction-affected crashes. 11% of all drivers under the age of 20 involved in fatal crashes were reported as distracted at the time of the crash. This age group has the largest proportion of drivers who were distracted. 40% of all American teens say that they have been in a car when the driver used a cell phone in a way that put the people in danger. Drivers who use handheld devices are 4 times more likely to get into car crashes serious enough to injure themselves. Text messaging creates a crash risk 23 times worse than driving while not distracted. Sending or receiving a text takes a driver's eyes from the road for an average of 4.6 seconds, the equivalent at 55 miles per hour of driving the length of an entire football field blind. Headset cell phone use is not safer than handheld use. Driving while using a cell phone reduces the amount of brain activity associated with driving by 37%. Do not text and drive. Drugs and alcohol.
Drugs and alcohol.
Drugs and alcohol.
Drugs and alcohol. Okay, now why are drugs and alcohol that bad? Well, let's go and see. I'm going to be taking us around Vincent's to interview our drug addicts and see the choices they would have and wouldn't have made. Okay, if they could read we are on the streets of Hindersville, and we're going to interview them about what they did and what they did wrong. Right now we have Rupert James. And tell us your story, Rupert.
Well, I started doing heroin when I was 12 years old. And when I was 14, I dropped out of school. Been digging through trash cans ever since then, trying to get my hands on whatever I can. So.
Okay, tell us what you would have changed.
Well, doing heroin obviously wasn't a very good decision. Probably would have stayed in school to get a job.
Alright, so any advice to the kids?
Don't do drugs. Yeah.
Alright, thank you, Rupert. Have a nice day. Take 2. Here we go again. We're going to meet them and see how drugs changed their life and what they would have done different, and maybe some advice for you youngsters out there. Alright, here they are. Put it away. Okay. Get down here. What's your names, first of all?
My name is Maggie Joe.
Maggie Joe, and?
Andrew Higginbog.
Andrew Higginbog, alright.
We've been married for about 2 months. We met each other 5 years ago at a drug deal in St. Louis.
So you guys are on drugs. How did this happen?
I was born into it. My parents always did it, so I thought it was the right thing to do.
So was there a lot of pressure at school?
Yeah, that's where I started. Yeah, and it's not the smartest decision we've ever made.
So play it through. What were the peers and why did you do them?
My best friend in high school was like, hey, you want to try this? So I tried it. and hooked ever since.
My
What do
mom
you
got
think?
me hooked.
Drugs are a bad thing or a good thing now that you're on it and you've been on it for your life?
I think it's a bad thing.
Look at
Something
us.
you don't want to get hooked on. You can't have children because you'll have a messed up baby.
Yeah.
Crazy. I think I could do that. We could have had a house.
Could have had a house.
Could
What
have
else?
had money.
Money.
Stayed in school.
All right. Any advice for those people that haven't screwed up their life like you guys?
Don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs.
Unless you want to be living here.
Okay.
Like us.
What do they do when they're faced with that same pressure as you guys?
Say no. Walk away.
I would say no, and I would just be the bigger person.
Be the bigger person. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. All right. We're out, Chad. Ready? Okay. We will now be going to our local drunk marijuana type person. And here we go. Her name is Catherine Realis. Kathleen Realis. And here she is. Get down there with her. Alright. So you don't have a home, do you?
No.
Why is this? What's your story?
Well, a long time ago, I decided, in high school, I decided that I wanted to have a good time and drink alcohol like all my friends. But then I became addicted to it. And then I started doing things like marijuana.
So this alcohol was a catalyst for greater drugs.
Pretty much, yes.
Because those were acceptable.
But now I'm an alcoholic, and I don't have a home.
So you couldn't find your fix on the other drugs.
No.
You don't have a home?
No.
Okay. Yeah, so what do you take back if you could go back in time?
Well, I would be a good kid and not drink, not do drugs, not do things that are bad like that.
What pressures were you faced with?
Pressures of going to parties every night. One friend of mine died in a car accident because she was drinking and driving.
Did that not veer you away from it or scare you?
No, I went to alcohol as a source to get over it. And that's the wrong thing to do.
Alright, any advice to the kids to make different decisions then?
Don't drink and don't do drugs.
Alright, thank you. Thanks for your time. Okay. Well, thank you. Okay, we're here with Becky Stinger, owner of Perfections. For how long?
We've been open for 16 years.
Okay, and what's your view on the youth of Vincennes as far as drugs and alcohol?
Actually, a few years ago, we mandatory drug test new employees so that if we had suspicion, because over the years, one of our most stressful moments in our life is when we have hired people that have used drugs. We have found that people that smoke marijuana have a short-term memory, irritability, and the blame game. Anytime you have those type of people working for you, it actually affects your business and also affects your home life.
What's the blame game?
The blame game is when they don't show up to work, it's because somebody else did something, not themselves. They always blame other people why they're late, why they couldn't show up to work, why they couldn't get a project done. They blame everyone else but themselves.
Okay. How do you feel as if how they should deal with it?
Deal with it. You're talking to a person that has never done a drug in her life. And actually, as a parent, whenever you're raising your children, it's very good for me to say that I've never done a drug in my life. So I can teach that to my own children and tell them that to be a successful person, I cannot believe that you can be a drug user.
Okay, any advice to the Reveille student body?
When I grew up, it was not cool to do drugs. And actually, when I attended Reveille High School, if you smoked a cigarette, it was actually, you were kind of the gross people. It was not cool whatsoever. And I find that today, hopefully not at Reveille, but at other schools, it's not as bad to smoke or do drugs. I just want to let people know it is not good. And if you ever do it one time, you can never say that you've never done it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Good job. Hello, we are here with...
Liz Klinkenbeard from the Knox County Chamber of Commerce.
Okay, and what are your views on like the youth today as far as drugs and alcohol and what the problem is? And
okay,
as far as that?
I do believe there is a problem with youth and drugs today. I believe it is the community as a whole to be responsible in educating these children to not use drugs or drink and drive or text.
Yes. Okay, how is it different from when you were a kid from today?
I'm not sure that it's actually different. I think the maybe the problem is that maybe we have a tendency to, when I was younger, to ignore it, and now people are more aware of it nowadays because it is affecting more of us each day in our daily lives.
Okay, let's say someone's at a party. How do you think they should deal with that peer pressure?
Peer pressure is hard. That's something that you'll deal with as an adult. I know personally, my personal experience was I always told my kids to use your mom and dad as an excuse.
Okay, thank you. Any advice?
Communication. Communicate with your parents. If you can't communicate with your parents, communicate with a friend or a colleague or somebody that's close to you that you can trust.
Okay, does Red have to say anything, or?
Red says stay drug free.
Okay, thank you.
That'll be good in there, won't it?
It only takes one drink,
One text.
One distraction.
One call.
no,
One life.